The Turk Quarry in Topper, South Carolina is the first site I will be looking at. This site was first identified in 1981 by local forester John Topper. The excavation of the site began in 1986 and was led by University of South Carolina archaeologist Dr. Albert Goodyear. The early artifacts from this excavation lined up with the Archaic period, which was from 500 to 8,000 years before present. Also found a little deeper were Clovis artifacts. These finds are very important as they establish the dig site and its methodology as being accurate. These finds were confirmed and authenticated by the science community at large. Instead of stopping at the Clovis layer, Dr. Goodyear continued to dig deeper, and the artifacts that he began to uncover will tell a different story of when people came to the Americas. As the excavation continued through the deeper layers, which consisted of silt, sand, and clay, the main find at this layer was lithic tools, which means any tool that was made of stone. Confirmation of human activity on the lithic tools consisted of bifacial activity, which is the stones were worked on both sides. The tools also showed signs of spiral fracturing, polished edges, and they had plant and or animal residue embedded in them. Luminescence technology was used to date the artifacts. Luminescent technology determines how long it has been since a mineral was last exposed to sunlight or a significant amount of heat. The dating of these artifacts was completed by Michael Waters from the University of Texas A&M. The dates on the artifacts came back to 15,200 years before present. Dr. Goodyear continued to excavate deeper, and the deeper he went, the more lithic tools he found. But he also uncovered a hearth, which is a great indicator of human activity. The first set of artifacts challenged the Clovis first theory. These artifacts blew that theory out of the water. The dating on these artifacts using luminescence technology revealed the date of 50,000 years before present. This dating not only changes the timeline of when an ancient human was in the Americas, but also how humans got out of Africa and when they got out of Africa. The deeper findings are being questioned. There are two main arguments. The first being the markings on the stones are naturally occurring instead of human activity. This is a debate that's going to go on and it's going to happen and will only be settled through further examination of the artifacts. I personally go with the people that found it and with their conclusions, but it's something that will be questioned for a long time. The second argument is the deeper artifacts didn't naturally settle at that layer. They weren't buried at that layer. They weren't covered at that layer. They were higher up, and then either through animal activity or a natural process, the artifacts fell through the silt sand layer and came to a deeper layer, therefore not giving true dates. Now we'll move on to the Page Lassen site. It is located in Florida, just south of Tallahassee. It is a sinkhole in the Akla River, but at the time the artifacts would have been deposited, this river would have been a pond at the bottom of a canyon. Artifacts at this site were first found in 1959 by a scuba diver, but the first investigation was not started until 1983 and ran through 1997. This excavation was led by archaeologist James Dunn and paleontologist David Webb. Artifacts that were uncovered consisted of elephant bones and other bone tools. These artifacts showed human manipulations on the bone, and radiocarbon dating on the organic material came back to dates of 11,700 and 13,000 years before present. These results were dismissed as it did not fit into the accepted theory of human migration at the time. This site was too far east to be developed using the land bridge theory in their accepted time frame. The site was ignored, research was stopped until 2012. At this time, as more evidence throughout the Americas of older archaeological sites were uncovered, the Page Lassen site was revisited, given new life. A new investigation began. The new investigation was funded by the Center for the Study of First Americans. The site was run by archaeologists from Texas A&M University and the Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Excavations at this time uncovered stone tools, a knife, and flakes of stone tools that were associated with mastodon remains. The bones showed that these large animals had been butchered. The knife found was a different style from the Clovis culture, so this was proof that this was not the Clovis culture and another culture was in the Americas before the Clovis culture arrived. These artifacts were dated to 14,550 years before present. This site is very important as the evidence is solid proof of an earlier culture in the Americas. It should be forcing everyone to rethink how the Americas was populated. The Clovis theory does not fit. The artifacts don't fit. Where they're located does not fit within the timeline of the theory. The second reason this site was so important is because it's underwater, and the process and methodology used to date the artifacts and to bring the artifacts to the surface stopped a lot of criticism from outside influences as possible, as the process and methodology could not be attacked. In the ancient past, sea levels were lower, so it is reasonable to assume that a lot of these cultural sites will be underwater. So establishing a process and methodology will be important as more archaeological sites are found underwater. In the next video, I will continue to lay out the evidence of this earlier culture and where they are found across the Americas.